Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
Now, the spooky season is upon us, and I know that one of my favorite things of growing up when we were living in the duplex with Mom was she always had this basket of movies that she would hang up over on like one of the side walls of the living room. And that's where Cabin Fever was. That's where Halloween was. That's where, Hollow Man or which, I mean, there was just, movies that we didn't watch all the time that would always pop up at that point where it was like, you know what, let's throw that in, like back when DVDs were still a thing, so, but just through that, like, I don't know, to me, Halloween is not necessarily my favorite holiday, but it is definitely a fun one that I love everything about the spooky season. Like, it's colder outside. It's comfier. It's a time to have, hot apple cider. It's a time to, just enjoy the leaves changing color and,
sure.
Picking out a pumpkin, just all that stuff. And that's one of the things that we're going to try to do this month is that the whole month of Halloween, whole month of October, we're going to try to do things that are a little more spooky oriented.
Right.
We want to hone into just some good stuff that we enjoy talking about.
Yeah.
And this is a time of the year that we definitely enjoyed for sure. And we talked about this last night and we were like, you know what? Let's go ahead and just talk about our favorite horror movie villains. Let's just have some fun, kick this old school, like how we used to do this in the basement, which was I'd be like, hey, man, pick out 3 things, think about them all day, and then we'll just talk about, everything about them. And tonight is going to be a lot of fun because I've chosen 3 that are very close to my heart. And I know that they're going to be very much my personal favorite, maybe not everybody's going to enjoy them or for one reason or another. Right. But we've been cooking this since last night and thinking about it. And I'm really intrigued as to what your other 2 are because I think we only know the one of our 3.
Yeah.
So
I had to dig deep because I didn't want to go typical with like Freddy and Jason. Like let's be clear, guys. Like no, those are some of my top favorites. Like they're just classics. Like you can't not. But I wanted to do things that weren't like, I guess, cliche or something like that, where it's like, well, of course, no. I wanted to dig in the vault a little bit here.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I think I got some good ones. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess to essentially just kind of kick this off is that my first one is The Creeper from Jeepers Creepers.
Okay.
And I understand that film has a lot of negativity attached to it because of the director.
Sure.
And just to say right here, I do not condone anything that man did. I despise him as a human being, but unfortunately he did create something that was very good. And I'm able to separate the art from the artist. And I don't know, it was such a weird thing when that movie came out because I was younger. I think I was maybe like 10 or 11 years old, like when it officially dropped. And I remember just seeing the commercials and Justin Long is in it. And, it's like, now we know that if Justin Long is in a scary movie, it's going to be a damn good one.
Yeah.
And it was just, the trailer for it was just so badass. Jeepers Creepers. And like, it was, so intense. And, him standing on the road, just pacing back and forth and just watching them. And it's like, what is this thing? Like, it was something that I personally had never seen done on screen before. And what I loved about that movie was that when you didn't know anything about this, when you're just going into it fresh, that it is like each layer gets peeled back throughout the entirety of the movie and you learn more and you just like, it becomes more terrifying when clearly as an audience member, that you're going in for a creature feature. But in the same hand is that, you look at the characters in the movie, they just think that this is some psycho that's on the road. And it's just like, I'm still perplexed with this creature still to this day because we still don't know what the origin is. We have no idea what it is.
We never will.
No. And for me, I'm kind of okay with that because there is this mystery, of just like, man, like it's something that I can still just have late night conversations with my friends around a fire about where it's like, dude, like, what do you think he was, or whatever. But what did you think about that movie when it first came out?
Oh, man, it kind of falls into some of the other ones that I picked as well, because it wasn't your typical, just like somebody chasing you in the woods, slasher, Freddy Krueger type thing. Like it had that kind of vibe to it, but it was, like you said, it was a creature. I mean, sure, some of the other ones are considered creatures too, but like this was like a real thing. It wasn't like, oh, this was a human before. Now it's this. No, like you said, we don't know what it is. That thing looked wicked, and I thoroughly enjoy Jeepers Creepers. Like that is a really good, that's a solid fucking movie, man.
Yeah.
Like even the second one, like the second one's pretty good too. What are you close to? Pee in my fucking pants, dude. Like, I love that line.
Dude, and that poor kid in that movie, he kept getting grabbed by him in the school bus. And it's just it's so interesting to me that that movie had such balls of like doing stuff where like, I mean, let's face it that, I don't like seeing children being killed in movies. But the thing is that it's like whenever you see that, you realize like, OK, we are not in for the comfort ride that we're used to. Right. And it makes you realize that nobody is safe. And it's especially with a creature that just cannot be stopped. And the only thing that will, maybe stop him is if he, you can outrun him or that you can avoid him for 23 days. For his limited amount of time. Like it's just, for 23 days, every 23rd spring for 23 days, he gets to eat. And it's like, it's this very simple, just rule where it's like, these are the rules. This is what's happening. Deal with it. And it's just, man, like it was really cool. And especially the fact that the first one did not end the way that I thought that it was going to, like where it was like, no, the bad guy won. Spoiler warning if you've not seen it. It's been out for however long, but no, it was just like it was so. To me, I think that what is so cool about it was the fact that they went completely practical. It was something that Jonathan Beck, who or it's either Beck or Breck, but he, they talked about him being in the makeup chair for it. And when everything was said and done, they were just like, dude, like, you couldn't even see anything anymore of him. Like the only thing that was there was his eyes. Like it's, because he was just under so much makeup. And it was so intense. And I think that for me, I think the original is better in a lot of ways just because he kind of still had that like crusty kind of look to him. It was almost like this, dare I say, dry, like almost country kind of deal instead of like the next one. He almost kind of seemed like a bug. Like where he was like, it was that kind of deal. But yeah, just to me, Jeepers Creepers is just like that movie is just so solid. And the Creeper is something that I think that to this day, we're still not going to know. But there is a comic book that was made about him. And it actually does.
Really?
Yeah. So I personally have never read it, but it apparently shows the Aztecs that they were sacrificing people and they did it to this. I think they called it like the dragon god or whatever. So it was the idea that if they gave him organs that he would essentially leave them alone. And so I don't know how much of it is canon or if Victor Salva actually said that, like, if it was a part of it or not.
Okay.
But it's cool to find little nuggets like that where it's like, dude, like this, there's so much still to unpack. It's just so cool. It's so wild.
Well, I mean, see, with Jeepers Creepers, it's one of those things like it's I know that they've kind of redone it, but it's almost one of those like you can't really like you don't really redo that. It almost kind of falls into mine, which is Pennywise.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's not even the fact that I really like one more than the other because the original is the original. That's the OG. Like that's the quote best one. It is. But they redid it, and the fact that they did such a good job, but it took how many years in between because not to fuck with a good thing.
Yeah.
So the fact that they redid kind of Jeepers Creepers and they just kind of fucked it up, if you will, like it just didn't go.
That's putting it lightly. Yeah.
So, but that falls into mine too, where it's like I didn't know how I was going to feel about that, and they landed it. I think with Pennywise, there was always something about it that was so creepy that he is just a clown. Well, but like he is a clown. And the thing is that I wasn't really afraid of clowns until him.
Yeah. Now, do you think it was because of the monster or do you think that was because of Tim Curry?
No, I think it was because of Tim Curry.
Yeah.
I think that was the only movie that truly ever really got to me like that. And it's weird because I watched a lot of stuff, but Pennywise, the dancing clown, fucked with me. But I got a lot of good memories with that movie too. So like it kind of it falls into that where it was so good, plus the memories attached to both versions, that it just kind of always sticks with me.
Yeah.
But the fact that the storyline was pretty solid, except for the spider. Everybody bitches about the spider.
Yeah, it's like, what they say? They're like, yeah, Stephen King wrote it. So
yeah,
you're right. Yeah.
But I just think that there was just like the journey that you went on with this, like Pennywise is definitely in it for quite a bit of the movie, but he's not in it for the amount that you really think he is in either version. The story is about the kids and the adults, and how interesting is it that, you know, these kids were scared and they could see it then. Adults can't see him because, you know, they're not afraid anymore, but they're adults and they can still see him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fucked. Like, because they're still scared.
Yeah.
They know what they saw and it was real. And I don't know, like there was just something with that movie that just always stuck with me. And that was my first one. It's a cliche a little bit.
Sure.
But Pennywise, dude, come on. That's a solid one.
Well, I'll tell you, man, that like when we went and saw it Chapter 1 at the theater, I had listened to the full 40-hour book, or I think it's like 44 hours or something.
I remember you telling. I was like, "Fuck,
1,500 fuck off pages." Like it is just like it is one of the longest books that I've ever just had in my hands, or I've ever had like downloaded from Audible. And what was interesting about the book is that because like the trailer for it Chapter 1 is like, you know, from Stephen King's terrifying novel. You know, and I at that point when I saw the trailer, I was like, you know what, this is coming out next year. I should do my due diligence. I should see what the source material is, because I liked what not Fidel Alvarez. It was Andy Muschietti. What he did with it was that it was not a remake of the original. It was a true adaptation of the book, taking, you know, the actual, you know, information, the, you know, the dialogue, you know, the situations and stuff. And like, I was really wanting to go in as prepared as possible. And there was a moment when I was listening to it that I actually had to close the door of the office that I was in. And when I couldn't close the door, I had to turn around and face it because of the certain scene. And it was actually the scene when Beverly visits Mrs. Kirsch. Dude, in the book, that scene, and I think it was because of Steven Weber, because dude, he did such a great job of narrating it. And because it was the idea that because they did it in the movie where she's like, oh, my father ran the circus, like, you know, like she, you know, and you know, this and this, and just the way that he changed his voice and his inflection just ever so slightly until you realize, like, no, this is Pennywise, and I am 5 feet away from him, and I'm in a house, and like, what do I do? Or like an apartment. Like, it's just, there was something just really visceral about that book. And I would say that the other scene that got me was there was I think what was it? It said that a mother was giving their kid a bath, and she went downstairs for a second, and when she came up, her kid was gone. So he came up through the drain and got him and took him down.
Oh.
And I don't know, dude, something about that just really got me, where it's like, you literally are not safe.
No matter what.
Like, he is in the sewer. What's the one thing that everybody has? A toilet. You know, what's the one thing that everybody has? A sink.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and Bev kind of got that, you know, with the hair and, you know, the blood and stuff coming out too. Like, Pennywise is just terrifying. He is like, because he's just fear incarnate.
I think that was the thing that I really paid attention to, was he is just fear. And I don't think I understood it at the younger age when it first came out, but the older I got, the better it got for me, because I kept watching it, you know, and then it just like a little more started making sense or whatever. And it was just like, man, that was a movie that I binged a lot, even though it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
It was like that good scare. Like, I knew what I was getting myself into. Now I go to bed to it. Like, it's just like, that's just what I watch. But it's one of my top favorites, man. It is up there. It's solid all around, both versions. So yeah,
dude. I think Pennywise is just, he's something that I think should be, you know, revered, and good props to Stephen King for coming up with something that was just, you know, so insane. Because he even said too that the reason why he made him was that he wanted to have all the iconic monsters in one of his stories. And he's like, well, how do I do that? Well, I'll just use a shapeshifter. this thing becomes anything that you're afraid of. So that allowed him to like, do whatever he wanted.
Sure.
So, that's the beauty of, being a writer and being like, I'm just going to do this,
Exactly.
So, and then lots of
It's your
cocaine.
world.
And
Yeah.
But,
All right. What's your second one?
all right. I told Eric last night, I'm like, there's going to be one of these that I'm like, you are not going to like it.
You said I'm going to fucking hate it.
Yeah. And,
what is it?
The Babadook.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm assuming you hate that one, right? So
all right. I mean, what the weird Darth Maul thing?
no, that's Insidious.
Oh,
Yeah,
the Babadook.
The one with the top hat and like the long fingers and everything, the boogeyman kind of thing.
Well, that's apparently like the Babadook or the what was the guy? The Crooked Man is apparently what people say that I've quote seen. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, the Babadook. Oh, dude.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is that when the movie first, like again, I'm talking about trailers a lot, but it's like when the trailer for it came out, I was very intrigued by it because I was like, whoa, I've never seen a good boogeyman movie done. Like the movie Boogeyman, the old one or the older one, like when we were kind of younger, like. That one was all right, but I kind of went into it just expecting more. And
Sure.
it was, was it scary? Sure. But it was kind of tropey and like it wasn't, like it just didn't do anything for me in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
The Babadook, however, that one hit a lot of visceral fears for me. And I think that that's something that it's impressive, not only in the execution of how they did it, because the Babadook, for the most part, it's almost like this stop motion like practical thing. Like there was CG that was used in some things, but for the most part, like it really does feel like it's Ripley with the alien with the jaws right next to her, where it's like it's not her looking at a green stick, and having to be afraid, or whatever. But I just, dude, there's a reason why I chose it, and it's this. Dude, it's one of the scenes that like what kills me about horror movies is when you're not safe during the day. Like, because like all this scary shit's supposed to happen at night. And I don't remember exactly why, but the main character of the film goes to the police station. And she's, desperate and she's like just losing her mind with all the stuff that's happening. Like she's seeing this thing and now her son's seeing this thing. Like it was because they read a book that was never there before that all of a sudden showed up. And it was about like how like the lore of it that you'll hear it like knock a few times or whatever. And like the Babadook is coming and like you can't get rid of it. And she goes into this police station and is talking to this officer and she looks in the back. Dude, I'm getting chills. She looks into the background and there's a coat fucking hanging on the door right now. And it's dry. Oh, dude, there's this trench coat that is hanging. And when she looks at it, it's this normal guy's trench coat, but the fingers and the hat are sitting there. And there's the Babadook just like, I'm still here. What are you going to do? And it's just, dude, like it was the moment that I realized, like, dude, like it just made all the hair stand up on the back of my neck. And I was like, dude, like what, where'd you run? Like, where'd you go? Like, he's at the police station. Like, this is where they like incarcerate people and keep the bad away. Like, and it's just, man, what was really impressive was the fact that there is true symbolism to the film, is that the Babadook is actually it's symbolism for grief. And the fact that, these characters, she lost her husband, this son lost his father, and it's them processing this and essentially figuring out how to deal with it. And it manifested itself as this boogeyman that's in their house that they can't get rid of. And it even has like portions of it that it kind of becomes like Home Alone, where like the kids like setting up traps to like, try to like, get the Babadook. Like, it's very interesting. Okay. But
yeah, I never watched it because it just never intrigued me.
It's honestly, I would say that it is definitely worth a watch once just because of the execution of what they did.
I've seen parts of it. Mm-hmm. I've seen parts of it. I just didn't know that like that's what it was.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah. Right. It's but what was cool about it, if you don't want to know anything about the Babadook, get out of here. So I'll give you a second. 1, 2, 3. What's interesting about it is that by the end of the film, you see the mother and the son in the backyard, and I think they're like, playing ball or they're doing something, and she walks inside, grabs a bowl of like worms that are alive and squirming, and she goes into the basement and sets it down in this dark corner, and the Babadook comes out and grabs it and just eats it and stays in the corner because she has it chained up. And she's just kind of like, okay, that's where you're going to stay. Like, you're never going to go away. It's never going to stop, really. This grief will always be with me.
Of course.
But I can move on now.
Right.
And it was this thing that, like, I didn't notice it the first time, that's really what the symbolism was, because it's actually a very brilliant script. And that idea that it's like, no, like, there was an overarching theme in what this actually meant, instead of just being another creature feature, where it's like, let's see how much we can scare people, and let's see that, like, it's to me, I think that's really important, because as we've said before, like, everything's been done. So, like, what do you do to, like, flip it on its head a little bit? Right.
And that's what's hard. But I think that we talked about this last night, where it's like horror movies. I think it's okay to, I don't want to say run out of ideas, but kind of essentially reuse, do things, go for the shock and all. Like, that's what it is. It's a horror movie. Like, it's a slasher flick. It's a creature feature. It is what it is. Like, there's no rules. So the fact that things being done before and taking from other things, like, it's okay, at least for that. I fully believe that, like, some sci-fi and then horror movies, like, that's just like, what you're getting yourself into.
How many different ways can we kill people?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's why I said about Saw, where, like, a lot of the newer Saws hit a lot of my very few but major triggers that I can't watch, which is compound fractures and fingernails and stuff. Like, I can't do that. And they just focus so much. And it's like, well, I don't even want to watch it anyways. But I understand that that's just me. There's other people out there that want that same thing. When I'm over here going, give me the stuff from this, and they're like, this is boring.
Yeah.
It goes every way. I think that's the beauty of it, is that, everything has been done, but everybody has their own little twist.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the fun of even writing a script, starring in a horror movie, doing it, like, that's probably going to be the best shit ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just your own world, man. Like, that's got to be fun. Make it all up, just like Stephen King. Oh, a terrifying lamp. Like,
Stephen King could write a monster story about a lamp and make it work, because he would find a way for, like, no, it flickers twice. Right. This is what it means, Yeah.
I'm going to buy him, like, fucking $70,000 worth of cocaine and be like, here, dude, write another book.
Yeah, it's
be the best $70,000 I ever spent.
Because I can't remember what video it was, but it was a sketch where these kids got kidnapped by Stephen King. And he's like, we're trapped in the basement, even though I have the complete use of all my hands. He's like, he kidnapped us so that way we could give him ideas for new books, because he hasn't written a good idea in like 13 years. I mean, did you read Tommy Knockers? But no, it's just, man, like, I think that being able to have creative control in a way and handle it properly, that's the biggest thing, because anybody can come up with bullshit.
Well, right.
But you're right. Like, it's like, just actually honing that in and making it something that's unique is really cool. But all of that being said, like, definitely the Babadook is one of my favorite villains, just because it was such a different experience than I had ever had, and it kind of made me afraid to go to bed. Like, not as much as Smile as did, but, like, I didn't choose that just because the movie more so scared me than just, like, the actual entity
thing.
Because like, there was more stuff that was happening than just the actual, mind entity.
I thought you might, but I thought the same thing, where I was like, he might not do, because it's more so in the fact of, like you said, it's just like the ending is the thing. But yeah. Also, Smile to me also, like, that Smile was good, but it also kind of just felt like a movie that didn't matter. Well, sure.
Like, once everything was done, where it was like, so we just got to watch a cycle just happen. Okay, like, whatever. But yeah. So I am curious about what your next one is.
So my next one is, all right. I really thought about this. Again, it goes more so in the fact of some memories that go with it when it first came out as well, like how different it kind of was. And I don't know, man. It's a lot of fun. Ghostface. I scream.
Oh, dude, hell yeah.
I mean, I think it's because it was a horror movie that was a slasher movie, but it wasn't a Freddy, it wasn't a Jason. Those guys are serial killers, but this was like an actual human being serial killer, and like multiple people, and like how they did it, and like how the story was, and even some of the like dialogue that was in it was great. And it just, and then if you go back and rewatch it, you can see little hints because you weren't paying attention. Why would you be? And like there was so many cool things about it. And I think the fact that like I kind of put stuff together even as a younger kid, that the guy or Skeet Ulrich that plays
Skeet Ulrich.
He's the main character, the boyfriend.
Billy.
Billy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That I was like, well, he looks like Johnny Depp. Well, I found out a bunch of stuff that's part of the reason he got cast, because he looks like Johnny Depp. She, what's her face is wearing the number 10 jersey because Johnny Depp wears the number 10 jersey. Nightmare on Elm Street. Like there was a lot. And I'm like, I fucking knew it.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
There was just a lot of things that kind of like meshed well. But dude, the fact that there was multiple killers, the voice changer was cool, the outfit was sick, and I'm like, how are they running around like they're basically in a dress? Like how are they doing that? And it was, but then it all made sense with how many people, and then like even the plot where it's like, oh, that's why you're mad. Like,
right.
But
I guess he's got a point. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But the beginning was like really over the top. And the fact that Drew Barrymore dies,
right?
You weren't expecting that. And I think that was what was so cool, is that she actually took the role because she was supposed to be Sydney. And she was like, no, how about I do this essentially? And it threw everybody off.
Yeah.
But just like that whole tension at the beginning, the conversation, then the gutting, then all that stuff. Oh my God. Oh, it was all the stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was just all the things. And then her like dying over the phone. Like it just all sounded so real. It was all practical.
Yes.
It looked so good. And they did it all for real. Well, not for real, but like with real stuff, props and things. Like that's what just movies now that are horror, that's what they lack. It's all CGI. If they're trying to do something, they cut corners when they shouldn't. And I think that's the biggest thing with, I think maybe my bitch about horror movies is that they cut corners on the things that matter the most. And it's the stuff.
Yeah.
It's the stuff, man. That's what you need to spend all of your time and money on. That's why we're here. So yeah, Scream. Well, Ghostface. Yeah. Well, that was mine because, dude, just fucking great movies, dude. The first two.
See, this is what I will say is that I think I agree that the first two are great just because of the fact that Jamie Kennedy is in both of them, and and he was in Scream 3 where he's like, yes, everything ends in trilogies. Like so, like he made the contingency of like this ever happened again. So like it's kind of unbelievable as an audience member, but it's also believable if you're his friend because he's so just obsessed with everything. Like there's a formula. Like he's like, there's everything. Like it's just, I think that,
I like that too, where he was the guy that's like, no, how to survive all horror. And he was right. He was right.
Yeah. To me, Scream is a very self-aware horror movie.
It is.
And that's what I think makes it work and how it has a lot of charm with it, because like, does it have some cornball to it? Yes. It's an older film now. Like, like, is it the most well-directed film? No. But the thing is that what it did well, it did very well.
It did.
And it's because that was always the movie that I wanted to watch as a kid, because it seemed like the forbidden fruit that I wasn't allowed to, to check out,
Yeah.
Which funnily enough, I remember being at a friend's place and because I'm such a good kid that well, we're going to watch Scream 2. And I'm like, well, I'm not allowed to watch that. Like, but I can't leave because we're staying the night. I'm like, well, I'll call mom and see if I can watch it. And for whatever reason, mom and dad weren't at the house and you picked up the phone.
Oh, I did?
Yes. And I was like, hey, and you're like, what do you want? And I said, so it's like me like, I'm at my friend's place and they're going to watch Scream 2. Am I allowed to watch it? You're like, yeah, whatever. And you hung up. So I came home thinking I was in the clear and I was like, oh, I watched this movie. It was really intense. I'm kind of scared, but I'm fine. And mom was like, how was your weekend? I'm like, oh, we watched Scream 2. It was great. She's like, why did you watch that? I'm like, well, Eric said it was okay. She's like, don't do anything that Eric says is okay.
fuck me, Jesus! Like, oh my god! Don't ever do anything your brother tells you to do.
But no, that was just I don't know. It's a very fond memory of mine. It's so great.
What do you want?
Because I don't know what you were doing, but I was not important, like, at all.
Probably a chick.
Yeah, maybe, but again, when I was playing with Legos when you were, dating chicks. So,
where was I at? Like, where did we live? Do you remember? Like, how old were you?
Oh, I was like maybe. It was either like 99 or like 2000. It was like around that time. So, because I was just down the road from the house. Yeah, so yeah. So like,
it had to have been at the duplex.
No, it wasn't the duplex.
It wasn't?
It was the main house that we lived in. Not the first house, second house that we lived in. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because again, I have no idea what you were doing, but you just could not be bothered. You were just like, no, like, forget it, dude. We're like, yeah, throw him down the test tube. Like, let's see how he does.
It's fine. Go ahead.
No, but Ghostface is cool, man. And I think that especially as the sequels, like Scream 3, I think was compelling enough for what it was, because I think that there was a bit more of the story that needed to be told, that, maybe like there were some loose ends of some things. But once it got into like Scream 4, I was kind of like, I understand the beginning was very different because it was like the movie within a movie within a movie.
I stopped after 2.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. So it's.
I saw the newest one, but I stopped after 2, basically.
Yeah, which I will say that the Scream 6, actually, that was a really good time.
It actually wasn't bad, man.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, all right, for not watching the other 13, this is actually pretty decent.
It's like, yeah, Scream 40. It's like, it's like, where's Sydney? So it's just
dead. She's dead. She's 93 years old. She's been dead. So let's move on.
Yeah, right.
How'd she die? She was 93. She died of old age.
She died from fear of Ghostface.
Yeah.
A heart attack.
She couldn't process actual food and had to be fed through it. It was a whole thing. She just said, fuck it, unplug me.
Oh my God.
Anyways.
No, but no, I think that there's still some charm there that's cool with the series, and again, like, those originals are just so iconic.
They are,
and it's just because
they were first of their kind, essentially, like that.
Yeah,
like I said, like an actual human. Because I don't know, I'm trying to think of. I'm sure there is other ones, but like I said, serial killers that weren't like a demon. Like, no, I'm really drawing a blank on something that was like that beforehand. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure I'm wrong.
Well, I think the closest one would probably be like Patrick Bateman or something, where it's like, like him
sure.
But in the same hand, that was like, again, I don't even count the second one because that was just a shit show, because they did make a sequel. But no, it's just, I think that Ghostface is very, Ghostface is very special because of the fact that, like, especially the voice has not changed.
Right.
They have not fucked with it. They've been like, no, like, this is what the fans love. This is what we want. This is what makes this have so much charm, and like what people keep coming back for.
He may be something I get tattooed on me. I actually didn't, but now that I think about it, he might get a little tribute on my horror side.
Oh yeah,
nice. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Man. All right. So what is your last one?
Okay. Anybody that's listening to this and loves horror films, this is something that I would highly suggest that you do. It is on YouTube. I found out about this movie from my good friend Sammy. Shout out to her. This is probably one of my favorite found footage movies that I've watched because of the fact that it was an independent film.
Blair Witch?
No, not Blair Witch.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
man?
No. Blair Witch that's complicated. I could do an entire podcast on that movie of why it has problems.
It's awful. End of story.
So essentially the way that she found out about it was that, she got a hold of some movies, and it was one of those where it was like, okay, like there's the suggestion box of like, hey, if you like this, you might like this. And I can't remember like how we ended up talking about it, but I think I was over at her house and she was like, oh my God, like this is like, I think we were like 15 or something. And she was like, you have to see this, like, check this out. And it is a British made film.
Did you have to call me to make sure you were allowed to watch it?
No, I didn't give I didn't give a fuck at that point. I can do whatever I want. I'm 15. But essentially what it is that it was a found footage film, but it was done so well because it wasn't like Chronicle and it wasn't like Blair Witch and it wasn't like Cloverfield. Like I love those movies for different reasons, but we have to acknowledge the fact that there is a point in found footage movies where I would have turned the camera off and just ran ran for my life. Like not like, filming behind me and like, trying to do all that stuff. Like there's a sense of believability that I think is lost whenever you approach the found footage genre, because if you're going to do it, you better do it right. And this movie did it in such a great way, because essentially the movie is called The Tunnel. And it's it is a group of people that are going into these tunnel systems underneath of the city to essentially try to figure out why homeless people have been going missing. There's also something about, if I remember correctly, about like the water supply of like they're trying to expose stuff and everything. So they weren't going in of like, oh, the legend of, the creature. It was more so like, no, we're here to film a documentary.
Yeah.
And the brilliant thing about it is that who survives, because it's a documentary about what happened.
Right.
And they're being interviewed beforehand or whatever, where like one of the scenes I rewatched last night was one of the characters is being interviewed and he's like, wait, she thought that we were messing with her? He's like, are you kidding me? Like, he's like, no, we weren't. Like it was like this, like them like having the other perspective. And there's this brilliant scene where in these tunnels, there was this big functioning bell that was used back in the day that they're trying to get audio of for the documentary to like, no, we'll play this during this part. And their audio engineer has the microphone in the room. They slam it. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, this is peaking. He's like, this is too loud. He's like, let me do this. He's like, we have enough cord. I'll go down the hallway. I'll hold it. That way we can get the audio and then we can move on. And he does it and gets taken. And you see the cord rip out of the camera and fly down the hallway. It's like, it's little moments like that where like, as somebody who, works in film and does that, it made sense as to why he went down a dark hallway, because he was only going to be there for a second to get this audio.
So what is it?
So essentially what it is that it's this creature that is like almost like 7 feet tall. It has this very pale white face. It looks like almost like I want to say it almost looks like it has like a vampire quality to it, but it's not a vampire. And it has like almost this cloak or like this mass around it that when the few times that you do see it in the film, like when it flies past them in a hallway or something, like it made you jump, where you're like, oh my God, like that was CG, but it looked really good. And that was what really impressed me about it, was the fact that this movie gave a shit on the fact that it's like, look, we're going to scare you with the proper technique. And when we show you the monster, it's going to be very minimal, but it's always there. It was kind of like the shark in Jaws, where like it was that kind of mentality. And I think the only time that you really get a clear picture of it is when the night vision shows up. And it's like you can kind of like see like its long fingers and like how it's like doing things. I think it actually grabs a dude's head and like slowly turns it all the way around. And like they're watching it and panicking through the camera. It is one of the creepiest, most just terrifying things. Like not just because of the creature of what it is, but the fact that they are so deep in these tunnels and they realize that they're lost and they can't get out. And I think one of the scenes of them realizing that they're underneath of a manhole that's on like underneath of a highway, it's blocked. So like their freedom is right there and they can't get out.
Yeah.
So, but the honing in on the found footage thing is that it did a good job of why they had to keep the cameras on, because the cameras are their only light source.
Sure.
And it was the fact that it's like, look, we have this, like our flashlights have this much time. This is how much battery we have left. It's like, and I think at that point they didn't even care about them recording or not. They were just panicking.
Well, right.
Yeah. And it's just, it was such an interesting film. And that to me is what was impressive about it. Just 2011, like it was this film that dropped. And, for the most part, like I'm not into British made films. I mean, I'm sure that there's probably some really good ones, but mainly the ones that I've watched before have been kind of hokey, and they haven't been the best quality. This completely just blew all of that out of the water. And I just realized, I'm like, this thing is terrifying. And the cool thing about it is that it's never explained. It's the fact that
Oh man,
there's no like lore dump of them like going into a room like, what are these symbols? I recognize these are Aramaic. This is the yada yada yada, and like it's like none of that. Like it's just this thing that lives underneath of the grounds of the city and has been there for however long.
Sure.
And there, it's, you know, the fact that like there are homeless people there and like people are going missing and like it was just such a wild ride.
It's fucking hungry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, guys gotta eat.
Yeah, he's gotta eat, man.
Yeah, it's
all right.
Yeah,
That's not what I thought you were gonna say. Like, I mean, I don't know what I thought you were gonna say, but like, that sounds really interesting. Yeah. Okay. So the tunnel that you said, that's what it's called?
Yeah, the tunnel. It's like I think it's like an hour and a half or whatever.
All right.
But it's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's for free. So yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Mine is something that I know you have never seen because we've talked about it, and you said you're like, no, I've never seen it. And
oh shit,
it's the Djinn from Wishmaster.
Shit. Okay. Yeah.
So the reason I chose this movie is it is something that I did watch kind of a lot, you know, when it was like kind of first out or whatever for some years. But it was interesting because I didn't realize, I was like, well, how did they get this guy's voice? It is the actor that plays him even when he's human. He's in a bunch of other movies too, but he went all full in suit and makeup and all this stuff for the movie. The dude's wicked looking. He kind of looks like the Creeper.
Oh shit. Okay.
He kind of has like a similarity, but the fact that I was watching something today and they made a good point in the fact of his getup is very intricate and really awesome. And, you know, it's all practical. Like his mouth moves, like, you know, it all looks real. The I guess you could say wicked genie, if you will. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't fight. It's all mental because you either wish for something and then he twists your wish around.
Oh, it's that whole like be careful what you wish for kind of thing. Yeah.
And the thing is that not only when he is the Djinn, but when he is human, he's got this like smooth sexiness to him. Like when he's talking, like even when he's not like the awful thing that looks like that, it's kind of cool. Like he's got these two like little alter egos, and the story's pretty good. Like even the fact of like there's some pretty decent names in it. Like what is it? Tony Todd.
Oh shit,
he's in it.
Yeah.
Robert Englund's in it. So like there's some pretty good names in it. But the story's pretty solid. The deaths. Oh, dude.
So take me through some of these deaths. Yeah.
Well, like one of them is like this homeless guy, and I'm pretty sure that's the guy that I think it's the guy that plays Rex in Back to the Future, the homeless guy.
Oh yeah.
But he's a homeless guy in this one too, and he's mad. He's mad at like one of the clerks in like the CVS or something like that, and the Djinn's trying to get stronger, I believe, is what it is at this point. And he asked him something. He was like, well, what's your beef with this guy or whatever? And I forget how he words it, but he was like, I wish he would die or something like that. He's like, I wish he would get cancer and die. And
oh my God,
he just looks at him as he's smoking a cigarette, and the genie looks at him. And he's like, do you mean that? And he was like, yeah. And you just see the clerk inside while he's like taking it, he just like starts foaming. He's got boils coming all over him and stuff.
What
and he just died. And the dude like throws his cigarette down. He's like, you're fucking weird. And like walks off. But at the end of everything, even the people that make wishes, even when it's not the person that let him out, like he's doing things to get stronger, but like he still takes you with him afterwards. Like at the end, the guy that made that wish, he still gets taken because he made a wish.
So even though you get what you want, there is still a price to be paid, even if it's not the wish that you made.
Right.
Interesting.
And the way that the Alexandra is the main woman in this, and how she like defeats him is pretty genius. How this becomes about, it's like a ruby or something that it is. And some guy was drunk that was moving like this article or like ancient artifact or whatever it was off of like a boat, and he dropped it because he was drinking, and it like killed somebody. But then the gem came out and somebody stole it, and then it just kind of got passed around and like something, and like it just kind of came to her. But how she got rid of him was she was smart. At the end, she's standing there and she like goes through her head. She's like, I wish whatever his name was, Derek, wasn't drinking on, October 3rd, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, fuck. Because now he didn't drop it. He didn't get out.
Right.
It was fucking genius how they did it. It was like the whole movie was just solid, man. And the fact that like some of the bigger horror icons were in it, like Tony Todd, one of his is the fact that he's like a security guard. And he asks him, he was trying to get through and he's like not letting him through. And he says something about being at a dead end job and all this stuff. And he's like, don't you just wish you could escape stuff like this? And he's like, what? And he's like, do you wish you could escape? And he's like, it almost like mesmerized him. And he was like, yes. And the next thing you know, he's in a straitjacket in water like Houdini. And he's like, Houdini made it in 2 minutes. And he just walks off.
What the fuck?
Dude, it's shit like that. Like this movie was fucking wicked. I know there was some CGI. And I don't want to say that it holds up to this day, but what they did do, like, man, the movie holds up to this day.
Yeah.
It's solid. Like, you have to watch it, dude.
See,
And I haven't watched it in years, and I still remember some of the stuff. Like, it stuck with me. The shit was fire.
yeah. What's honestly like there is something that's really cool about those older movies that, they did work with what they had.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to, effectively, make you believe that this was happening or make you wince or like, oh my God, like, like that's happening. Like, that's huge because I mean for me like I can forgive a lot whenever I do watch an older film where it's like even like I know for a fact I hate to admit it but Jurassic Park is not perfect. There is a frame or two where a raptor disappears.
Sure.
So
there's even a guy's pushing one of the raptors in the kitchen scene.
Yeah,
you can see his hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that movie still holds up though.
Yeah. So Wishmaster.
Yes.
So that you had some solid choices tonight, man. That was cool.
I'm just saying, man, like that one, the more I started thinking about it, the fact of it was just really cool. Like, yes, it was a creature, but dude, it was more to it than that. Like I'd never seen a evil genie. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? Like this was completely different than all of the other things that I'd seen even growing up. And I'm like, dude, this is a sleeper that not many people know about. They made 2 of them, I believe. I don't think I really saw much of the second one, but
interesting,
dude. You need to watch that one. You definitely need to watch that one. So, guys, if any of you out there seen Wishmaster, comment in this and let me know if you liked it. Because, bro, that movie was fire.
There's going to be that one guy where it's like, no, it fucking sucks.
I mean, it might have to some people. It was just I thoroughly enjoyed it because, like I said, the dude, like you said, when he wasn't the creature, he was this smooth kind of just like. Like flirtatious almost, even with everybody. It just he got you. Yeah, it was like he was like that sleazy salesman. So solid picks tonight, man. I think we had some good ones.
Yeah, man. It's to me, this is what's cool about just this time of the year is that we just get to geek out and just have some fun for a little while. And just it's like, dude, this is like I can talk about movies all the time, and that's just something that it's like this is a window into what we do on a normal daily basis whenever we have friends over, or like even when mom is over too, like when she always breaks down movies like this. And especially too, like, Aunt Heidi, it's like that was always just a, such a wild thing just to see like, the amount of just, good-minded people that are like, no, think about this. Like, this is what this really means.
Well, I mean, her and Aunt Heidi are the biggest reasons I watch horror movies and stuff. Like, that's what we all kind of grew up on and what was like out in the big things then, in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, it was horror. Like, it kind of took over the world.
Yeah, definitely.
It's awesome.
But guys, I think we're going to bring this to a close, but we're not going to bring it to a close until you comment below and you tell us what your favorite horror movie villains are, because I'm really curious to see what you guys think.
Me too.
Even on Patreon, I think it was John. He posted what he thought R3 was.
Yeah, he was kind of wrong.
Yeah, well, he got Pennywise right on yours.
He did.
But I was actually really impressed that he did choose Patrick Bateman for me, where I was like, oh my God, I'm honored. Like that's really nice. But either way, so guys, let us know what your favorites are. And if you enjoyed this and if you want to see more episodes like this, we will definitely make it happen because we want to hone into the more of ours, like our favorite this or like, our fondest memories or things like that. Or like, what are some episodes that you guys would like to see? And we would love your input and to have you guys be a part of this. But until next time, Eric, is there anything that you would like to tell the audience before we sign off for the night?
Pennywise is a real thing. I crossed streets when I saw any kind of sewer drains until I was like 23 years old. No joke. Did you see what he did to Georgie's arm? Fuck that.
That's the best thing about when we saw the new one was when the movie started and Georgie was there, and all I heard from my right was, "Oh, Georgie." With that being said, we will see you guys in the next one. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Adios.